Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a fascinating book out of Turkey that presents a really radical theory about religious history. It basically challenges the entire sacred map of events we've all come to accept.
So the book we're exploring today kicks things off with this really provocative question. It suggests that, for thousands of years, our whole understanding of where key prophetic events actually happened might have been, wrong.
Here's the core idea. The book argues that the real location for a lot of the foundational stories from the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran isn't where we think it is. The author suggests the true center of gravity for these events is actually way further south, down in the Hejaz region of Arabia.
Okay, so how does the author even begin to build a case like this? Well, let's dive into the first piece of evidence, which the book says is hidden in plain sight, right in the famous story of Moses and the Pharaoh.
Right. It's a story most of us have heard 1,000 times. But the source tells us to zoom in, to focus on the very specific language that's used in this request. Because hidden inside, the author claims, is a massive clue.
The book argues that the real key here is an incredible linguistic link, a connection that's buried in the original Hebrew text that you could so easily miss.
See, the Hebrew word that's used in the Torah for this journey is hag. Now, the author points out this is a direct cognate, basically the same root as the Arabic word hajj, the term for the Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca. The book says there is no way that's a coincidence.
And this is where it all clicks together. The core rituals of the Hajj in Islam, they take place over 3 days. So the crucial point the book makes is this. When Moses asked for a 3-day journey, he wasn't just talking about a 3-day hike. He was using a very specific term to ask for permission to perform the rituals of a 3-day pilgrimage.
All right, let's jump to the second clue, which the author presents as a kind of smoking gun. And this one comes straight from the New Testament, from the Apostle Paul himself.
Now, this is one of those details that's so easy to just read past and not think twice about. Right after his life-changing conversion, Paul's first move isn't to go to Jerusalem, which was the headquarters of the new faith. Nope, he goes to the deserts of Arabia. And the book asks a simple question. Why?
And then, bam. In his letter to the Galatians, Paul makes this just stunningly direct statement. He explicitly connects the great revelation at Mount Sinai with Hagar, and then he tells you exactly where it is, in Arabia.
Think about what that means. According to the author, that one sentence completely redraws the map we all thought we knew. It says the law given to Moses came from the very same land that Hagar and her son Ishmael, the ancestor of the Arabs, lived in. It moves the entire geography of Revelation south.
Okay, so you can see how the argument is starting to stack up. The book then takes these threads from Moses and from Paul and weaves them into a much bigger picture, arguing that a whole chain of spiritual figures were all pointing to the exact same place.
So the book lays out this kind of continuous spiritual objective that spans centuries. It starts with Moses, who, as we saw, wanted to lead his people on a 3-day Hajj in the wilderness of Paran. Then you have Paul, who retreats to Sinai in Arabia to get clarity. The author then connects this to the Hanifs, these pre-Islamic monotheists who used to retreat into the mountains around Mecca to find what they called Abraham's original pure religion. And it all culminates, the book says, with Muhammad receiving his first revelation in that very same region, which the author links to an old prophecy about God shining forth from Paran. The argument is clear. All these paths, they all lead to one sacred center, the Hicazz.
So where does all this leave us? The whole point, according to the book, isn't to invent some new history. It's about recovering a memory, a truth that was either forgotten or perhaps deliberately hidden over time.
And here's another really cool piece of the puzzle the book presents to illustrate its point. The Quran sometimes refers to Mecca by an ancient name, Bekke. Well, the author points out that over in the Psalms, a sacred pilgrimage site is described as the Valley of Baca. 2 different holy books, 2 different traditions, but they're using basically the same name for a sacred valley of pilgrimage. That's pretty wild.
And really, that brings us to the core message of the book, which is captured perfectly in this quote from the foreword. The theory isn't about changing geography on a map. It's about remembering a spiritual geography that, the author argues, was lost to us.
So, just to be clear, our job here wasn't to prove or disprove this theory. We just wanted to walk you through the evidence presented in the book Guneo Yolculuk. And it leaves us with this final, really challenging question. It forces you to look at that familiar map and just ask yourself, what if?